Hello lovely people, as mentioned before, it's going to be amplifier measuring week. So today we will be looking at the MRX-F65. So I had this amplifier for quite a while now. I was competing with this amplifier very recently. So this amplifier, it's an X series, quite an older generation. It's probably from I don't want to lie, maybe 2010 or something like that. If you know the exact year when these were released, please pop it in the comment. It's for the form factor. It has quite a lot of power. I think it's like 110 watts per channel. And as you can see, the form factor is kind of the same as the older ones. But so the difference is the class. Because the older V-Power were Class AB amplifiers. This one is Class D. And basically you get 2 or 3 times as much power compared to AB in the same form factor. Now after this, we have the newer X series amplifiers, but these were amazing. So I had previously, I bought an F35, which had a bit less power than this one. And it was fun, but like on Facebook Marketplace, I saw this one with more power and I bought it because why not? So now the question is, because I did measure this one, if you haven't seen it, go a few videos back, you're going to see this amplifier measured and you're going to see the little brother, the 5-channel amplifier from X series. So now the question is how this is going to measure. Is it going to perform similarly? Because ideally, since this is an older amplifier, this should measure better than this. But we will see. Measurements is going to show everything. One thing about this amplifier, the most annoying part for me, is these screw terminals, which has a very small hex key, and it's just annoying. So it has 60 amp fuse ratings. That one has 70, a bit more power again. Very typical connections and everything. Very typical adjustments. Nothing really special about this amplifier apart from the actual physical size, that it's quite small-ish. Now for this one, if you can see, I have missing feet because I did remove them because I was mounting them a bit differently. So these, I think you can fit the same feet on both of these amplifiers, but for this one is missing. And for this, I think you have like the feet and you should have like a plastic cover on the side, so like side trims, but I never had it. It's not a problem at all. So without any further ado, let's jump into the laptop and see how this thing measures. And only from one graph we can already see that it measures bloody amazing. Again, we have 66 dB, which is somewhere here. Everything is below that. We're dipping down all the way down to minus 77 or something like that. Now very quickly, let's double check the power ratings. It says 110 and 160. So I didn't do the 2 ohm test because I did it for the previous amplifier, the X series A70F. If you want to watch that, go one video back, you're gonna see that. And we have 4 ohm rating, again 14.4 volts. 110. Let's switch to percentage. 1% is this one, and we have only 92 watts. So why is that? Because of the voltage. Obviously, this is 14.4. When I was testing this amplifier, it was like the 3rd or 4th in the row on the same battery. So probably the voltage was, my guess, below 13 volts, maybe like 12.8 or something like that. So yeah, with a higher voltage, it would definitely do 110. Now, another thing that I want to check is Alpine claims. So Alpine claims THD plus noise, 10 watts into 4 ohms is below 0.02%. Let's check. 10 watts, which is this one here. The cursor, there we go. 0.014. So it is below 0.02. So does this prove that we can trust Alpine stats? I think yes. I think it is a proof that we can trust them. So now the most important thing is how this amplifier compares to the previous one that I tested, the X series, the newer one. Does the newer one have any benefits, or is it any better? So this is the newer one, and this is this one. And we can see the curvature is very similar. The newer one has more power, more clean power, and the newer one has slight bump here at like 30 watts of output. This is like output-wise THD is cleaner without this. However, what I want to pay attention to is the harmonics. Let's do this. Let me unclick all the harmonics and leave only the higher ones in THD. There we go. So what I would want to show you is the yellow one is the third harmonic, which sounds, as people say, harsh and unpleasant. And the second harmonic is the pleasant sounding harmonic. Now on this, the F65, the older one, in THD and higher power area, like you see above 20 watts or whatever, when you push the amplifier, the third harmonic is dominant, you see? And the second harmonic is way below that. If I switch to the A70F, the newer one, for this one, we see the opposite. We see when you push this amplifier, the second harmonic pops up and the third harmonic is lower than that. So again, my speculations, and only in theory, I would say that if you compare these two amplifiers, the A70F, the newer one, X series, and the older X series, if you really push these amplifiers, the newer one is going to sound more pleasant with its dominant second harmonic compared to the older one and its dominant third harmonic. And this is exactly what I wanted to see from all these measurements, what kind of difference there is. And I am planning, I don't know how yet, but I'm planning to do the actual listening test, an A/B comparison between amplifiers, just to see if these measurements somehow translate into actually what we hear. And again, if we have a look at the total power, we see that this amplifier is cleanest from very low voltage all the way up to like 30 watts. And the newer one has slightly more distortion higher up, but literally this is nothing. We're talking about 72 and 75, 3 dB, which is nothing. Again, amazing performance THD wise. Let's have a look at frequency dependent. So this was done again at 5 watts, and we have linear flat. A little bit more in the higher frequencies at like 6 kilohertz and stuff. So this region is indeed the most sensitive to our hearing. And here we have again dominant, not the second one, but the third harmonic. And on the newer one, we had, see, the third harmonic is way below, and we have the second dominant harmonic. So it's just the different harmonics that are dominant. But again, this bump is literally just 1 or 2 dBs, which is nothing. Again, extremely ruler flat. THD doesn't depend on frequency at all. Multitone, let's compare it to this one. Very similar. I don't really see any difference. Kind of the same to me. Yeah, compared to the old and new one. X series amplifier is kind of the same. Let's have a look at frequency response. Again, this was tested. See. So there we go. This is probably the biggest difference. Again, the lower end, we're going to ignore it because it's just because of the sample rate. But here we have, I just adjusted it, changed to SPL so we could have like everything on the actual. And we have here, if you remember the older one, this one had 0.6 drop down to 20K. This one has, again, same 0.6 dB drop, but this one drops down much steeper compared. Yeah, so if you compare it old and new, again, apologies, it's not very aligned, but we can see that the newer X series, all the way up to 30K, it goes only 1 dB down. And this one, yeah, 30K is kind of the same, but then later on, yeah, so this above 30K, 30 to 50K, again, these are ultrasonic frequencies that only bats can hear. But if we're talking about like high res and super high extension, yeah, we can definitely say that the newer Alpine Type X amplifier has this extension up to like 42, 45K, and the older one drops down by, oh my god, by 3 dB. Imagine that. But again, super flat. Now let's have a look at the 1 kilohertz tone. This one, 1 kilohertz tone at 5 watts, and again we see third harmonic as dominant, exactly the same as we saw from the other stuff. If I compare this to the newer one, yeah, so the new A70F has, again, as I mentioned, the second harmonic dominant, and the old one has the third harmonic dominant, but everything else is kind of the same. There's not really big difference. The jumping that you see is because here we have more measurements and here we have less, but it's the same because you have like 115 and 115 here, so it's exactly the same, identical. Multitone, let's have a look at the multitone. Again, same like the newer one, no problems at all. And the only other thing is channels. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, almost the same. We have some harmonics slightly different, but everything else is kind of the same. This is very interesting to see. The differences that I see between the A70F and the F65, basically, what did Alpine improve with the new amplifier? Alpine improved the power output, obviously, because it does more power, more rated power, more clean power. THD, I want to say it's the same. Even if we have slight differences, slight bump here, I want to say it's identical THD wise. No difference at all. But the main difference that can influence, in theory, again, how the amplifier actually sounds is these harmonics, the second and the third. So the older one had a third dominant harmonic, and the newer one has second dominant harmonic. And in theory, again, the newer one should sound more pleasant when pushed really hard, and the older one should sound more harsh. And basically, these are the only differences that I can see from all these measurements. I would be very interested to hear your opinions. What do you think about this and this comparison? And it will be very interesting to compare them, actually listen to these amplifiers. So that is in the plans. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I'm planning to do this. So yeah, I think that's gonna be it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.